Hi everybody, so cooking with Sammy. What we're gonna do today is I know that some people have a sweet tooth. They like to have that chocolatey snack after their food. So this is a recipe that is my recipe for chocolate oatmeal cookies. Now yes, they are cookies. However, they are packed with steel cut oats, which are super good for you, have lots of fiber, but they also have the other good things that baked goods have. You know, they're gonna have your sugar. If you want it to omit sugar, you can do honey. You could do coconut sugar if you want to. I have no issue with sugar. I don't think that's something that you need to necessarily cut out. And it's a good way to kind of enjoy a cookie that's more than a cookie. Again, adding oatmeal to literally anything is gonna be super helpful. I use, steel cut oats, I've got flour, sugar, confectioner's sugar, baking powder, baking soda, singular stick of butter, we got some vanilla, and then we have some cocoa powder to make them chocolate. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start measuring. So I tend to not really measure that much when I'm baking, depending upon, I just kind of eyeball it. But for sake of this video, you know, we're just gonna go with like cups. So I have just a little bit of flour left. I believe it's about just 1.5 cups of flour. So I'm gonna dump that whole thing in there. Yeah, it's probably about 2 cups actually. So about 1.5 to 2 cups of flour. Flour is just our binder here. And then what we're gonna do from there, oh, I forgot you're gonna need an egg too before I forget that. Grab my pasture-raised Trader Joe's eggs. So after that, what you're gonna do is you're gonna add your sugar. So again, I like to eyeball. I'm doing about 1/2 cup of sugar and 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. This is just gonna give it that more kind of melt in your mouth consistency that you get from more of a no-bake cookie. Now, while you're doing all of this, you're gonna wanna set your oven to 350. So I'm gonna do that right now before I forget. And then from there, we're gonna add in our cocoa powder. I just do a nice little sprinkle of cocoa powder, get it nice and chocolatey. Probably about 1/2 cup, 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. Again, we do like that chocolatey consistency. Chocolate and oats go so well together. So it's always good to have that. And then I'm gonna add just that sprinkling of baking soda so that it rises. About a teaspoon. And some baking powder. Also about a teaspoon. Now we do both because what the baking soda and the baking powder does is it lets it rise. So that's the baking soda, it's gonna rise. The baking powder is gonna prevent it from flattening out. So that's why we use both. Again, about a tablespoon each. From there, I'm gonna add in my oats. I use steel cut, so they're more of a granular consistency. I personally like those better for baking. And I'm gonna sprinkle in about 1 cup of these oats. Now what we have left is our butter, we have our eggs, and we have our vanilla. But before I do that, I am going to just mix up these ingredients together, my dry ingredients. Get a nice even consistency. Now if you want to make these no bake, omit the flour, omit the baking soda, omit the baking powder. You'll still use cocoa powder, you'll still use oats, and you'll still use sugar, both sugar and confectioners. Now once that's all mixed up, we are going to, I keep my butter in the freezer, so I'm going to melt my stick of butter. again, this is to remind you that baking is good. We love baking. I'm gonna put it in there for about 30 seconds. Hopefully it's melted by then. You can use room temperature one and just kind of smush it in there. I do not have a KitchenAid blender or any other type of blender. So I normally mix by hand with a whisk or with a spatula. My cookies are more with a spatula. If I'm doing a batter, I'm doing a whisk. But while that is melting up, I'm just gonna grab 2 of my eggs here. I'm just gonna use 2. And it's gonna help keep it together. Using it as a binder. I'm just gonna crack those eggs in to my dry mixture. I am not a cream your butter and your egg and your sugar together baker. I am a one-stop shop. We're only doing this in one bowl because we're busy people and don't like the dishes. Again, I'm gonna also add just my splash of vanilla. We use that and pour with your heart. We do not measure vanilla. All right. Still a little frozen there, so let's put it in for a little bit longer. But I'm gonna start mixing that egg and vanilla mixture into my cookie batter. Again, you do want it to not be a super dry consistency here. You do want it to start to form. All right. As I blow up this in my microwave. Just gonna add all that right in there. That good butter. And yes, I do use real butter. I don't use margarine. I just use the Kerrygold. It's just got more nutrients in it. Because I'm all about making alternatives. But whoever said butter is bad is crazy. We like butter. Now, as you can see, this is getting a little bit hard for me. But we are getting into that cookie type of feeling where it's kind of getting sticky. It's looking like this. Just trying to get all that dry ingredient mixed in there. So it's getting just a little bit tough, which is fine. We do want to be able to form a ball with this. And the nice thing about this recipe is it's very quick, very simple. You can also turn this if you want to make it into a homemade oatmeal cream pie. You can, with some marshmallow fluff. Like I said, I'm all about listening to those cravings, and this is a great way to eat a few cookies and not feel bad that you're eating a few cookies, you know? So it should look like so. Just a nice dough type of thing. There we go. And then I am just going to, I've already washed my hands. It should be slightly sticky consistency. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pick that up. I'm gonna form a rough ball with my hands, rough ball, and stick that on my parchment lined baking sheet. Shouldn't be super sticky, but just sticky enough to hold the shape of that ball. I have to mix that one in a little bit more. Like I said, I start to use my hands after a while. It's because it's easier to do that. But we got, again, these jam-packed oats in here. They smell so good. Now, if you are gluten-free vegan, you can sub olive oil. You can sub almond flour for this. I just had flour on hand, so that's what I used. Again, we're still forming these balls. Now they will expand, but not too much on the width of it. They're gonna expand toward the top. And because your steel cut oats are uncooked, they're gonna be getting cooked in the oven. So they're gonna soften up, become a little bit more dense. So you're not really gonna wanna eat more than 1 or 2 of these because you'll be full. That's the best part about fiber and using oats in your baking. And it's a super quick recipe, 30 minutes from ingredients to oven. Or I should say like 15 minutes from ingredients to oven. And then depending upon how many baking sheets you have, I've only got 1 right now that I'm working with. So this might take me a little bit longer to do. But I'm still rolling out my oat balls. You can make these monster cookies if you want. You can add other things to them. You can let them cook. About halfway into the cooking, you can add in some berries to it and let those berries cook into it. You can turn this dough into a batter and make muffins, chocolate oat muffins. All you do there is add a little bit more butter to it. You'd also add oil to it. And then again, you could add any fruit that you want to it, which is nice. These are also really great just to eat fruit with. You're like, oh, I want a snack, but I'm not fulfilling that fresh that Sammy wants. Here is your fiber. Add some fruit for your fresh. Eat some full-fat Greek yogurt. Yes, I said full-fat. Greek yogurt to get in your fat and your protein. And you have a complete meal. That is also a dessert and potentially a breakfast, because who doesn't love chocolate oatmeal cookies for breakfast? It's a great start to the day or a great end to the night. Now, if you have dough left over, which you might, especially if you only have 1 baking tray. At this current moment, my hands are covered in oats and chocolate. If you only have 1, then what you're gonna do is if you have dough left over, you're just gonna stick it in the fridge while those cookies are cooking. Bake them for about 10 minutes, pull them out, see how they are. If you think that they need a little bit more time, I wouldn't go over 15 minutes with these. And then I will check back in, send in that picture to y'all once all these cookies are done baking. And hopefully they will be absolutely delicious. I can't eat them, but y'all definitely can.